Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm excited to get started today on our Friday review, where basically anything goes each and every Friday. All sorts of different product reviews, updates of what's been going on here in the private practice, all sorts of new things happening actually with the podcast starting next week. I will talk about that for sure. Interviews that I've been on, interviews I'll be doing. Again, like I said, product reviews, and of course, research that I think you need to know each and every week. So much to always cover. I try to get it done in that 22 minutes. That's my goal. That's my mark. That's what I aim for. So without further ado, I want to dive into the show. But before I do, I want to thank everyone out there, and that includes you. I want to thank you for your support of this show. I truly mean that. The show has now reached, it's now done over 16 million downloads, I guess is the best way to say it. Really appreciate each and every one of your reviews for the show. That absolutely helps to allow us to reach more and more people. Of course, I appreciate all of your shares, tagging of the show on social media, and also subscribing to the show. Believe it or not, subscribing on iTunes or Spotify or any media player actually helps it to rise in the rankings. And what that does is it simply allows me, it's a free show, completely free, but it allows me to reach more and more people. And that has been my mission since I went online in 2016 to take what I was already doing in Boston that I knew worked, that I saw it work over and over and over, and bring that to people around the world. So thank you for helping me with that mission. I appreciate you. So first thing I want to share with you today is that I'm super excited that next week marks two big milestones. The first one is that I've never officially done an interview style show. I've wanted to, but because of scheduling and timelines and this being a daily show, it wasn't in the cards. But it's also because I wanted to bring you a lot on health, fitness, and exercise. So every single Thursday for almost 5 years now, I've brought you an exercise-based show, a Training Thursday. Sometimes it was a Toxic Thursday, but usually a Training Thursday. Those shows are not going anywhere. There is a full archive of all of those Training Thursday shows. If we look at 1,680 shows. Today's episode 1680. If you want to head there now, go to stephencabral.com/1680. And if you're on a desktop, you'll see on the right side, there's these little tabs, and you just click on Training Thursday. That'll separate out all the Training Thursday shows if you want to learn more about all sorts of things like when to weigh in, when to exercise, how many days a week to exercise, what to do for a warm-up, what to do for an at-home workout, like all sorts of different tips there. But if we divide that over the 5 years, the 1,680 shows, it's almost 250 shows on exercise. That's a lot of podcasts. So those aren't going to anywhere. Those are going to be archived. The shows are never taken down. This is a living record of everything I've ever said. But also, I'm excited that going forward, most Thursdays are going to now be interviews with other experts that I respect, coaches that I personally use myself, or people that I find very interesting that I want to learn more about that I think you may be interested in as well. So really excited. Our first guest is coming up this Thursday. I'm going to keep it a little bit of a surprise until next week. And then in the future, I'll let you know who's coming on. And also, if you're part of CabralSupportGroup.com, which is just our free Facebook group, you'll definitely be able to ask questions that I can then use on the show. So a lot of things happening. Always love to involve our entire community. And having said that, this Monday coming up, September 14th, we are starting our final official detox of 2020. So every single 12 weeks, every season, every quarter, every 12 weeks, we do a functional medicine detox. This is not juicing. It's not a cleanse. It's not any of those things. All of those things can be great. What this is it ramps up liver detox capacity. Why that's important is that you are exposed to some of the over 77,000 man-made chemicals in the environment. And because of that, your body, your blood, your liver is constantly on the attack of removing these things from your body. What we do is we combine anti-inflammatory nutrition, blood sugar balancing meal plans, and all of the nutrients from Ayurveda and orthomolecular medicine in order to allow the body to remove those toxins at a much faster rate. We use intermittent fasting. We all use all sorts of great things that allow your body to get deeper into autophagy and other truly science-based methodologies of helping you to hopefully get well, lose the weight if you need to, and live longer, stronger. That's what it's all about. So I kick off this Monday. I hope that you join me. I'll be posting inside of cabralsupportgroup.com, cheering people on. I hope that you'll cheer others on, and hopefully you're participating yourself in a 7, 14, or 21-day functional medicine detox. You can check out all of the details of that detox over on the website equilibriumnutrition.com and see what we have going on there. All right. So before we move on to all the different products and different things that I want to talk about, there's one thing that's been really disturbing as of late, and I've kind of gone back and forth about whether I should mention this on the podcast or not. But what I want to share with you is something that I find very disturbing, and I think it's important that anybody and everyone with some type of platform or some type of voice really speaks out against the censorship that's happening right now in the United States especially. It's happening all over the world, but especially in the US. We are seeing the major news outlets, and that includes online news outlets as well, and you know who they are, so I'm not going to mention them. They are not sharing with you what is going on all around the world, the protests that are happening in Germany, the protests that are happening in Spain, all around the world. They're not showing you that. They're also not allowing you to see a lot of the healing methodologies that could be used for your immune system, what may work against the particular pandemic that we're dealing with right now. And these people are basically being completely canceled and not shown on you. Almost said it, on different media-based outlets and on search algorithms. So very important to look at this. I'm just going to name a couple people. It does not mean that I believe these people are right. There's a big difference. You have to understand is I am for freedom of speech. I'm not a proponent of people using hate speech or any of those things. But I will tell you this. Anyone that speaks negatively about another individual and it's on social media also allows you to see who that person truly is. So now we have a record saying, oh, look at this person, look at their discourse, look at how they act, look at how they hold themselves. It's not always a bad thing. We get to see where people stand. Now, again, I was 16 years old once, I was 18-year-old once, I was 22-year-old once. I wouldn't want what I said when I was 16 to be held against me now today. But we can see for grown adults in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and up, and you're saying things that are negative towards a particular group of people, well, again, I don't think that should be censored. That should be, hey, look at this person saying this. If you don't agree with this person, you don't have to necessarily go after them with vile and venom as well. You could just simply say, okay, then that's that with them. I'm not going to follow them. I'm not going to give them my time of day. But people should believe. Now there are various degrees of this because I don't believe in bullying for children, any of those things. But what I want to do is bring this back on track for a second. That there are people being censored right now, very intelligent people. It does not necessarily mean I agree with them, but they should be allowed to speak their voice. One of those people, again, there are now hundreds of really brilliant doctors out there speaking about what we can do, what is working during this pandemic. One of those people is Dr. Simone Gold. I don't know Dr. Simone Gold at all, but what I know is this: she's extremely intelligent. Do I agree with everything she's saying? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not, but I probably believe in a lot of what she's saying as well. Should she be censored? Should she have been fired from her job? My answer to that would be no. And she was fired because they didn't like the video that she did. Let's look at Dr. Simone for just a second, Dr. Simone Gold. She's an attorney. She's a lawyer. She has her JD, and she has her medical degree. She's a medical doctor. She's a physician. She was part of the Surgeon General, and she lost her job talking about a particular drug that may work for some people during this pandemic. And that to me is outrageous, the censorship that's going on. So she was fired, but she was also then a lot of her videos blocked as part of what they're calling the America's frontline doctors. Again, don't necessarily know them, not necessarily vouching for them, but what I can say is people should be allowed to hear them out, especially since they are medical doctors on the front line. Also, Dr. Mercola, don't agree with everything that he says. Intelligent person. He's a doctor of osteopathy, one of the originals in online content. Smart guy. Do I agree with everything that he's saying? No, I don't. I don't believe that a lot of things that he's speaking about, but should he have been censored? No. Should he have been completely taken off of Google, essentially? No, I don't believe that, right? And again, I just named a media outlet. I'll do my best, though. But I do have to speak up when these things happen. One of my favorite comedians for health-based satire and comedy, J.P. Sears. J.P. Sears, essentially on a lot of his social media channels, they're blocking him. They're not showing his full content like they did for me. Again, I was censored, but this isn't about me. But essentially took away my entire social media following, not showing it. They're showing Wikipedia-based stats and things like that whenever you search for my name or whatever you search for certain posts. And a lot of times when I look on social media for a particular account, it will say, oh, this is now false information. This has been shown to not be true. Well, not true according to who? Like, who gets to decide that it's not true when it very well likely could be true as we continue to find out all of these different things about the pandemic, seeing that these stats are way overblown, to seeing that a lot of these pharma things may work, to seeing a lot of these natural health protocols very well may work and do boost the immune system. Brian Rose basically got kicked off one particular video platform, had to start Freedom Platform TV because he brought on people that went against the media sensationalism of the day. Do I believe that, 5G and a lot of things that he speaks about, not necessarily saying he believes it, but he brings people on, are the cause of this pandemic? No, I don't. Do I believe 5G is an issue? Yes. But what I'm saying is he should be able to have his day and say his word, right? And he should be able to have on who he wants. Let people decide whether they believe it or not. So what I would say to you is this, and I know I've gone on for some time now, but this is important and I don't have to do it every single week, is that whenever someone is censored, I believe that you should seek out the information that that person was saying. I truly believe that now more than ever. I realize that when people have a valid point that runs contrary to popular belief or would actually hurt the powers that be, that person is first ridiculed. There is a picture of Dr. Simone Gold making her look kind of sickly and all of those different things. Listen, everybody has a bad day. I have plenty of bad days, so you wouldn't want to see photos of me, at certain times for sure. So, but, they do that. So first they try to ridicule you. They try to laugh at you. Then they try to discredit you, saying like, oh, well, you didn't go to the right school. You don't have the right pedigree, or you did this when you were 18 years old, like whatever it might be. And then if that doesn't work, then they completely try to censor you, ban you, stop you in any way possible. And we see a lot of that going on. So what I recommend, though, is I don't recommend that you believe right away. I certainly don't recommend that. But if someone is being censored, I would say, this is interesting. They don't censor a lot of things that are just kind of like ridiculous that, of course, nobody would believe. Why is it that they're censoring this? Is there some truth to this? Does this potentially stand to take down a person or company of power? And I would really look at that. Again, I don't know who's right. I don't always know who's wrong. What I can do is I share with you what I believe are universal truths, and that, of course, that I've seen work in my particular practice. When I'm talking about things outside of the health realm, it is not my area of expertise, but it is why that I recommend and share many other people and experts out there like I just did right here. So hopefully, again, that this was helpful. There are all sorts of documentaries. There are all sorts of things that have been banned. I do recommend looking into them. Not necessarily believing right away, but simply getting another point of view. All right, that's that with that. We're going to get back on track, maybe a little bit of a happier note now. I was on a podcast a couple weeks back with one of my favorite people in the health-based industry, and that is Allie from Food Heals Nation. I've been on that show a couple times now. I believe this was my third time, and I came on to talk about how to lose the quarantine 15. I did a little bit of that on my show as well, but really what it turned into is the science behind the pandemic, and we really went deep on this. Allie and I share a lot of the same beliefs and a lot of the same things that we kind of found out about on the show. I have so many great friends and colleagues in this industry. We don't get to talk enough. We really don't. We're all so busy. We're trying to create content. We're trying to teach and help people out there that sometimes, we need to do a podcast to catch up. So it was really great connecting with Allie again. And what I'm going to do is link that show up today at stephencabral.com/1680 with a lot of other links as well. Okay, so another one that I want to share with you today, this will be our product review. I did a show, what was it, this Wednesday? Let's see if it was this Wednesday. It was last Wednesday. It was episode 1671. And it was, this is what I do when I get sick. And I gave you basically my entire protocol, what I do to try to not get sick, what I do if I get sick, and then what I do if I get really sick, right? So I gave you all of that. It's outlined on episode 1671. And I went through all different throat sprays. The reason why I went through a lot of different throat sprays is that not everybody, but many people like me, the cold, virus, sickness, etc., it starts oftentimes in the back of the throat, the ear, nose, and throat issue. For me, nose and throat. So what I did was, and I've found this to be very, very helpful, is to actually use throat sprays on a near daily basis. So I've used so many throat sprays. I talked about many of them on the show. I showed all the different types on my Instagram stories, but the one that I really enjoyed for using, quite often. I'm a big fan of zinc throat sprays and all of that. I think the Nutribiotic one is a great throat spray. I don't use it every day because it is very strong and it does irritate the back of my throat. So I only use it, when I really need it. But a company called YS Eco Bee Farms is the name of the company. Many of you probably know because they have a great propolis extract. They have great raw honey. They also make a bee pollen that we've given to our daughters over the wintertime. They have a great royal jelly that we'll get. So it's a great company, really great company. So I'll see if I can link them up today. But it's YS Eco Bee Farms, and it is their propolis and herb spray. So I'm going to see if I can, because I actually don't have it right here in front of me. What I'll do is I will link this up for you, and I will put it in the show notes today at stephencabral.com/podcasts. And hopefully it's available. You'll be able to see all of the great ingredients, but I do know most of them right off the top of the head, so I'd like to share those with you right now. But the first ingredient is propolis. Propolis is a really powerful natural antimicrobial created by bees, and antimicrobial, antibacterial, absolutely powerful antioxidant. So it has that as the first ingredients, which is great to see, right? So they're not skimping on that product. But then it also contains echinacea, golden seal from the root, licorice root, slippery elm, cloves, and myrrh. So a really nice product. It's called Propolis and Herbs. It's the high-strength version. It's made by YS Eco Bee Farms, and it says it's good for sore throats, gums, mouth, breath freshener, cooling, and soothing. So a really nice product. I picked it up at my local health food store, and of course, whenever possible, they use organic-based products. Most of the herbs, though, they're found in nature. They could be wild-crafted, etc. So, nice company. You can look into all their propolis products. You can look into the royal jelly. You can look into the raw honey. Really, really nice bee pollen as well. So, I'll link that up today. Lots of great, again, like I said, throat sprays. That's a nice one, not super concentrated in echinacea or licorice root extract or any of those things if you wanted to do a couple squirts as needed as you felt something coming on or for daily use. But again, that is your choice. So what I want to share with you now today in my last couple of minutes is something that I've actually been quite disturbed about. So I guess this is a disturbing Friday review, and I didn't really plan on it to be. But I wanted to bring you this research because In 2021, they will be releasing genetically modified mosquitoes in Florida Keys specifically, and Houston, Texas. Now, don't ever believe for a second that those mosquitoes may not spread to other areas of Florida and other places of Texas as well. This to me is disturbing, even though I understand why they're doing it. So we have to understand that mosquitoes can carry all sorts of different disease. There's no doubt about that. Viruses and disease, they can. But mosquitoes are also part of the ecosystem. So what they do is they're actually, they can pollinate some flowers. Yes, that is true. They actually, one of the biggest foods is water and nectar from flowers. That's what the males feed on. The females are the ones that actually can bite you. They bite you because what they're trying to do is get some blood. I think I was reading in the research, it's like it's a tiny amount. We'll put it that way, right? So they have a tiny, tiny amount of blood they take up. And what they do, though, is they're looking for the protein and the iron in your blood that they collect to actually then be able to make eggs. Okay, and I get it. I'm someone that's absolutely susceptible to mosquitoes and mosquito bites. So if I'm outside and there's a group of 6 people, they come after me pretty fast. They really do. I feel like it's gotten a little bit better over the years, but they definitely come after me. Now, nobody knows exactly why. Some people say, well, it's because you're low in B vitamins. I can tell you for sure I'm not low in B vitamins. Some people say it's the amount of carbon dioxide you give off, and okay, maybe that's a reason for sure. And there is actually some decent research that it may have to do with lactic acid production as well. So, interesting. Again, you may be more attractive mosquitoes too after work, exercising, sweating a little bit. So there's also sorts of different possibilities. But regardless of that, the issue is this, that mosquitoes are actually serve as one of the primary food sources for a lot of insects out there, for birds, for fish, for frogs. And that if you remove this food source, which is the genetic, I'll get to why they're doing this. If you remove that food source, well, that could cause a decline in the insects, which can be good and are good for much of the environment, birds, the ecosystem, fish for our seas and waters, and frogs. So we have to be careful, right? We have to be careful about playing Mother Nature. We like to join into these science experiments, which oftentimes have devastating natural consequences. Also, I'd like to share with you that this is an experiment. And yes, they've tried it in Brazil, but not really necessarily where there's been a lot of population. And these eggs are actually used in an antibiotic, or I should say they're combined or mixed with an antibiotic called tetracycline. And we don't know how that antibiotic may become an issue with future generations then of mosquitoes, because what they're trying to do is basically make these male mosquitoes that will hopefully mate with the female, and because of their genetically modified DNA, actually help to kill off the future generations by not creating any other females. So they call it no female genes, dads with no female genes, so they won't be able to create any more females. So what they're hoping to do is push out the mosquitoes that are already there that are males with genetically modified males. Right, again, what could go wrong? And then they're going to come up with a new generation of mosquitoes that will only then be males so that they can't then reproduce. But inevitably some will, right? That's how it's going to work. Like inevitably it will happen. So now what is this new mutant mosquito going to look like? How will it affect humans? How will it affect them if they was originally exposed to an antibiotic? Or do we even know what else they're putting in these? Because we don't, right? We know mosquitoes can actually carry pretty much anything that we want them to carry. So what is it that this science experiment might really be? And when people were polled as to was it okay if they introduced these mosquitoes, 78% of them said they were not happy. So if 78% of people are saying this is a bad idea, why then is the government that's supposed to be for the people, elected by the people, allowed to do that? I do not understand that. I really do not understand that. And it's very worrisome because we should not have our vote or our personal freedoms and liberties taken away. Well, how would you like to be one of those people that they find out later? Well, what happens is when you get bit by a genetically modified mosquito, it actually creates an autoimmune issue. Again, we don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. Nobody knows because this is a first-time introduction. So I think we have to be careful with these genetically modified science experiments that we are now pushing on people without their vote. If you live in Florida, southern Florida, the Florida Keys especially, that's troubling. Same with Houston, Texas, other parts of Texas, right? Again, I worry about that. So other research that I wanted to bring you here today, because I've given you my favorite insect and tick repellents before. If you haven't heard about those, you can simply go to stevencabral.com/podcasts and just type in bug spray or type in tick spray, and you'll find those, my favorite natural sources that are DEET-free, which means that it's not going to destroy your nervous system. I was watching this video the other day. Obviously, you've heard me talk about before, my love of archery that I've gotten into, all of that. People, going to do these fun challenges in the woods and all that. Well, I saw this family go out and do it. They actually had their pack with their little baby in the pack. And the husband, again, doing something which he didn't know was a bad thing, but doing something nice for his young baby, and his wife was spraying them whole body with bug spray. And it was not a natural form, and it contained DEET. And we know that this is absolutely a toxin and poison to the system. Just because it keeps bugs away from you doesn't mean that it doesn't have other side effects, right? So really worrisome. So I've linked up natural ones before with many of these ingredients. But what I'd like to say to you is that for very short money, a couple dollars, you can actually buy seeds or starters, and around your property, you can plant these mosquito repellent plants, I'm calling them, okay? I'm going to list them today at stevencabral.com/1680, so you don't need to memorize them. Citronella. We know that citronella candle, citronella oil, all these things work. And they absolutely do. And you can plant citronella. You can plant basil in your garden. It's fantastic for you, and it's fantastic to keep the bugs away. Peppermint, it's another great one. We plant basil, we plant peppermint, we plant rosemary. Rosemary is a great one to keep away ticks, mosquitoes. Garlic, okay? We also have garlic bulbs planted as well. Lemon balm. I don't like the taste of lemon balm, but mosquitoes don't like it either, and they stay away. So lemon balm and lemongrass is another great one. Lavender. Lavender is one that we love to plant all around our property up in Maine to keep the mosquitoes away as well. Plus, it looks beautiful. Smells nice as well. Neem, a great Ayurvedic-based herb. Marigolds. Marigolds are famous for, you don't eat them, but it's famous for keeping mosquitoes away. Catnip, bergamot, and eucalyptus are others. We're a big fan of eucalyptus. Doesn't really grow in Maine, but for sure, you could use the eucalyptus oil too, and you can use an essential oil diffuser anywhere you want outside as well to be able to diffuse any of these herbs as an oil to help keep those mosquitoes away as well. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, I believe I'm an optimistic person. I'm a half glass full kind of guy, but I want to say this is that we need to continue to look out for ourselves and each other, like-minded people, and really not allow any big corporations or big government to take over our choice for how we want to live our life. So hopefully this has been helpful. And as always, if this podcast was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.